My phone buzzed at 6:47 a.m. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. A woman's voice, professional, clipped. Your stepdaughter filed adverse possession papers yesterday. Thought you should know before it hits the courts. I'm an admin at Hendricks & Stone. My sister went through something similar. The line went dead. I sat at my kitchen table, coffee cooling in my hand, looking at the house I'd lived in for 43 years. The house my first wife and I bought when our daughter was 2. The house where I'd raised my family, buried my wife, met Catherine, married again at 58, became a stepfather to a 25-year-old woman who smiled sweetly and called me dad within 3 months. That was 7 years ago. Catherine died 2 years ago. Cancer, fast and brutal, and now Madison, my stepdaughter, apparently believed this house was hers. I pulled up my lawyer's number. Jerry Kaufman had handled my first wife's estate, then Catherine's. He knew every document, every deed, every clause. He answered on the second ring. Jerry, someone just called me. Said Madison filed adverse possession papers. Silence, then a long exhale. When yesterday, apparently I'll make calls. Don't discuss this with her. Not yet. Let me see what we're dealing with. She has keys, Jerry. She's been staying here 3 days a week since Catherine died. Said she wanted to feel close to her mother. Another pause. Change your locks today. I'll call you back in 2 hours. I spent those 2 hours in my basement. The unfinished section in the back, behind the storage shelves. The section Madison had never bothered to explore because she found basements creepy and damp. I'd been coming down here every evening for the last 18 months. There were filing cabinets, 3 of them, organized chronologically. There were labeled folders, bank statements, text messages, recorded conversations, emails, photographs, witnesses. There was a corkboard covering one entire wall with timeline printed in careful handwriting. There was a digital recorder I'd been using since I noticed the first irregularity in my bank account 14 months ago. I wasn't paranoid. I was careful. There's a difference. Jerry called back at 9:15. She filed claiming continuous, open and hostile possession for the statutory period. She's arguing Catherine verbally promised her the house before she died, and that you've been allowing her to act as co-owner. That's insane. Doesn't matter. She has a lawyer. Marcus Trent, he's aggressive. This is going to get ugly unless we can demonstrate clear title and refute her claims immediately. I can do that. How come to my house tonight, 7 o'clock? Bring your paralegal. I have something to show you both. Madison arrived that afternoon around 2. I heard her key in the lock, then a pause. She tried again. Confusion in the rattle of metal. I opened the door. She stood on the porch, designer bag over her shoulder, yoga pants, expensive sneakers. 28 now. Catherine's daughter. Her mother's green eyes and sharp cheekbones. Why doesn't my key work? I changed the locks. Excuse me, you filed adverse possession papers. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Her face transformed. The sweetness evaporated. Something cold and entitled took its place. This house should have been mine when Mom died. You manipulated her. You're an old man living alone in a 4-bedroom house while I'm renting a studio. Your mother left you $75,000 and her jewelry, which you probably influenced. I didn't. The will was written 3 years before she died. I wasn't even in the room when she signed it. Well, I'm fixing that now. My lawyer says I have an excellent case. I've been living here part-time, maintaining the property, paying for repairs. You've paid for 0 repairs. I bought groceries. I painted the guest room. I've been acting as co-owner, which establishes my claim. Madison, you're not going to win this. Yes, I am. And when I do, you're going to regret how you treated me, how I treated you. You never made me feel welcome. Mom always said you were distant, cold, that you resented her having a daughter from her first marriage. Your mother never said that you wouldn't know. You barely knew her. I knew her for 9 years. We were married for 7. She died in my arms in the bedroom upstairs. Don't rewrite history to justify theft. It's not theft. It's justice. She turned and walked to her car. Paused with her hand on the door. My lawyer's filing an emergency motion. You'll be hearing from the court soon. I'd start packing if I were you. She drove away. I went back to the basement. Jerry arrived at 7 with his paralegal, a sharp woman named Lisa Chen who'd worked on Catherine's estate. They followed me downstairs, their expressions shifting from curiosity to shock as I turned on the lights in the back room. Jesus Christ, said Jerry softly. I've been documenting everything since I noticed the first problem. Lisa stepped closer to the corkboard. Read the timeline aloud. March 2023. Madison asks about house value, suggests getting appraisal. April 2023. Madison begins asking about estate plans, whether house is in trust. May 2023, first unauthorized key copy found in guest room drawer. June 2023, she kept reading. Jerry opened the filing cabinets. This is comprehensive. I'm a retired architect. I document things. You recorded conversations. Only after I noticed she was lying about expenses she claimed to have paid. I needed proof. Jerry pulled out a file. Bank statements showing charges Madison had claimed were for house repairs but were actually at luxury retailers and restaurants. She submitted these to you as reimbursement requests. Yes. I paid her 4 times before I got suspicious and started checking receipts. Lisa was reading text messages I'd printed out. Conversations between Madison and her boyfriend about their plans. Oh my God, this one from September. Once the old man's gone, we'll have the house. Just need to establish I've been living there and he'll have no leverage. She wrote that her boyfriend replied, "Make sure you're there 3 days a week minimum, document everything, take photos, get mail delivered there." They kept reading. I let them. They needed to see all of it. There was the email exchange between Madison and a real estate agent discussing listing price and potential buyers, dated 4 months ago. There was the recording of Madison telling a friend over lunch that she'd been gradually moving her belongings into the house to establish residency, and that I was too old and grief-stricken to notice or care. There was the photograph of Madison and her boyfriend standing in my living room, holding champagne glasses, with a real estate magazine open to a page about property values in my neighborhood. There was documentation of every single time she'd claimed to pay for something she hadn't. Every lie about repairs, maintenance, expenses, totaling nearly $8,000. There was a witness statement from my neighbor, Dorothy, who'd seen Madison giving house tour to strangers, describing the property as if she already owned it. There was the forged signature on a contractor's invoice Madison had submitted, claiming she'd hired someone to fix the roof. I'd called the company. They'd never worked on my house. Jerry closed the cabinet and looked at me. "You've been building a case." "I've been protecting myself." "This is beyond protection. This is prosecution-level evidence. She's trying to steal my house, Jerry. The house my first wife and I bought together. The house where I raised my daughter. The house where Catherine and I had 7 good years before cancer took her. Madison thinks I'm a confused old man she can manipulate. You're 65 and sharper than I am. I'm not giving her an inch." Lisa was photographing the corkboard with her phone. "This timeline is incredible. You even have the dates when she searched online for adverse possession laws, her browser history. She used my computer once when hers was dead. Didn't clear the history." Jerry sat down on an old lawn chair I kept in the corner, rubbed his face. "Okay, here's what we do. We file a comprehensive response. We attach evidence, not all of it, just enough to demonstrate she has no case and that she's committed fraud. We save the rest for trial if she's stupid enough to push this. You think she will? If her lawyer's any good, he'll tell her to withdraw immediately. If he's arrogant or if she's convinced him she's the victim, they might double down, and if they do, then we bury her." We filed the response 3 days later, 30 pages. Attached evidence included bank statements, text message records, witness statements, and photographs. We included the timeline. We documented every false claim, every forged receipt, every lie. We sent a copy to Madison's lawyer with a cover letter suggesting he review the evidence carefully before proceeding. 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. Male voice tight with anger. "Mr. Brennan, Marcus Trent, I represent Madison Hollies. I've reviewed your filing and you've been surveilling my client. I've been documenting her fraud. These recordings are potentially illegal. Virginia is a one-party consent state. I was party to every conversation I recorded. Everything I've collected is admissible." Silence. Then, "My client maintains her claim is legitimate. Your client is committing fraud, Mr. Trent. She's forged receipts, made false statements, and attempted to steal property. If she withdraws now, I won't pursue criminal charges. If she continues, I will. You're threatening her. I'm informing her lawyer of consequences. She's grieving her mother. She believes she has a moral right to. Her mother left her $75,000. That's more than most people inherit. She spent it in 18 months and decided she wanted more. You're a hard man. I'm a man defending what's mine." He hung up. Jerry called an hour later. "Trent's trying to negotiate. He wants you to sell her the house at below market value." "No, he's suggesting she can't afford market rate, and no, she doesn't get to attempt theft and then negotiate a discount. He's claiming she's emotionally attached to her mother's memory, and then she should have thought about that before she started forging documents. I'm proud of you. I'm tired, Jerry. I want this over. It will be, one way or another." The preliminary hearing was set for 3 weeks out. I spent those weeks organizing the basement evidence room into a presentation that could be transported to court if needed. I created binders. I labeled photographs. I prepared a master timeline that could be displayed on a screen. Lisa helped. She had a background in forensic accounting and spent 2 days reviewing Madison's financial claims, creating a spreadsheet that demonstrated the pattern of fraud. The discrepancy total is $11,300 if you include the forged signatures and false expense claims. Can we prove she knew they were false? Her text messages prove it. She told her boyfriend she was padding expenses to establish investment in the property. That's evidence of intent. That's evidence of fraud. Madison called my cell 5 days before the hearing. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. "Dad, we need to talk. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I never meant for this to get so hostile. Mom would want us to work this out like family. Call me, please." I saved the voicemail and forwarded it to Jerry. He texted back, "Do not respond." Classic settlement bait. I didn't respond. 3 days before the hearing, Madison showed up at my house. She rang the doorbell at 9 p.m. I checked the security camera I'd installed above the door. Another recent addition. She looked exhausted, hair pulled back. No makeup, sweatshirt and jeans. I opened the door but kept the security chain on. What do you want to talk? Please, can I come in? No, Dad, please, I made mistakes. I know that. I was grieving and I wasn't thinking clearly and I miss Mom. And this house reminds me of her. You miss your mother, I understand that. But you don't get to steal my house because you're sad. I'm not trying to steal anything. I just thought we could share it. Or you could sell it to me over time. Or Madison, you forged receipts. You lied about expenses. You tried to establish fraudulent residency. You consulted with real estate agents about selling a house you don't own. You told your boyfriend you were waiting for me to die. Her face crumpled. I never said that. I have the text messages. You've been spying on me. Been protecting myself from you. Tears now, real or performed. I couldn't tell anymore. Mom would hate this. She'd hate what you're doing to me. Your mother would be appalled by what you've tried to do. You don't know that. I knew your mother better than you think, and I know she didn't raise you to be a thief. Madison's expression shifted again. The tears stopped. Something harder emerged. Fine, if you want a war, we'll have a war. My lawyer says your evidence might be inadmissible, and even if it's not, I can make this drag on for years. I can appeal. I can file motions. I can make your life hell. You can try. I will. And when I win, and I will win, I'm going to sell this house and you're going to watch me do it. She left. I went back to the basement and recorded a note about the conversation, timestamped and detailed. Then I sent Jerry a summary. He called immediately. She threatened you, yes, in person at your home after you filed legal proceedings against her. Yes, that's witness intimidation. We can add that to the filing. Do it. The hearing was scheduled for 10 a.m. on a Thursday. Arrived at the courthouse at 9:30 with Jerry and Lisa. We brought 3 large boxes of evidence and a laptop with digital files. Madison arrived at 9:45 with Marcus Trent. She wore a conservative dress and minimal jewelry. Looked young and sympathetic, strategic. Trent was mid-50s, expensive suit, confident posture. He glanced at our boxes and his confidence flickered. The hearing room was small. Judge Patricia Hawthorne presiding. She was in her 60s, known for efficiency and impatience with nonsense. She reviewed the filings for 10 minutes while we sat in silence. Then she looked up. Ms. Hollies, you're claiming adverse possession of a property owned by your stepfather. On what grounds? Madison's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client has been residing at the property part-time for 2 years. Has contributed financially to its maintenance, and has a documented emotional connection to the home where her late mother lived. The judge looked unimpressed. Emotional connection isn't a legal basis for adverse possession. Has your client paid property taxes? No, Your Honor. But has your client held exclusive possession of the property? No, but she's maintained open and continuous, while Mr. Brennan also lived there. Yes, then there's no exclusivity and no hostility. This claim is facially deficient. Trent shifted his weight. Your Honor, if you review our supplemental filing, I've reviewed it. I've also reviewed Mr. Brennan's response. Mr. Kaufman, you've submitted substantial evidence of fraud. Would you care to summarize? Jerry stood. Your Honor, Ms. Hollies has systematically attempted to fabricate a legal claim to property she has no right to own. She's forged receipts, submitted false expense claims, lied about her residency status, and actively planned to steal this property while deceiving my client about her intentions. We have documented evidence of all of this, including her own text messages and recorded statements. The judge looked at Madison. Ms. Hollies, did you forge receipts? Madison's lawyer touched her arm, whispered. She shook her head. There may have been some confusion about did you or did you not submit falsified documents claiming you paid for repairs that you did not pay for? I thought, yes or no. Silence. Your Honor, my client, Mr. Trent, I asked your client. Ms. Hollies. Madison's voice was barely audible. I may have made mistakes in record-keeping. The judge leaned back. This case is dismissed. Ms. Hollies, you are fortunate Mr. Brennan has not yet filed criminal charges. If I were in his position, I would. You are ordered to return any keys you have to the property, and you are hereby barred from entering the premises without Mr. Brennan's explicit written permission. If you violate this order, you will be held in contempt. Do you understand? Madison nodded. I need a verbal response. Yes, Mr. Brennan, do you wish to pursue fraud charges? Jerry leaned close, whispered. Your call. I thought about Catherine, about what she would want, about the fact that this was still her daughter despite everything. Not at this time, Your Honor, but I reserve the right to do so if Ms. Hollies makes any further attempts to harass me or make claims against my property. Understood. This matter is concluded. Ms. Hollies, consider yourself lucky. The gavel came down. Madison left without looking at me. Trent followed, his expression dark. Jerry packed up our boxes. You won. I know you could have destroyed her. I know. Why didn't you? Because Catherine would have asked me not to. We left the courthouse. I drove home alone, unlocked my door, walked through the house that was still mine. I went to the basement, stood in the evidence room looking at the filing cabinets and the corkboard timeline and the boxes of carefully organized documentation. 3 years of my life spent protecting myself from someone who should have been family. I started taking it all down. It took 3 hours. I didn't throw anything away. I packed it into boxes and stored them in the far corner of the basement behind the Christmas decorations and old furniture, just in case. That night I sat in Catherine's favorite chair in the living room and looked at her photograph on the mantel. Taken 2 years before she died, happy, healthy, not knowing what was coming. I'm sorry, I told her, I tried, but some people can't be saved from themselves. My daughter, my biological daughter, Sarah, called the next morning. She lived in Oregon with her family. We talked every Sunday. Dad, I heard about the hearing. Are you okay? I'm fine. Madison tried to steal the house. She tried. I never liked her. I know that's terrible to say, but even at your wedding to Catherine, something felt off about her. You never said anything. You loved Catherine. Madison was part of the package. I didn't want to make things harder. I appreciate that. What are you going to do now? Keep living here, fix the fence, repaint the garage, maybe travel a little. Good, you deserve peace. I hope so. After we hung up, I made coffee and sat on the back porch watching birds at the feeder. The morning was cool and clear. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Mr. Brennan, this is Detective Sharon Reeves with the Fairfax County Police. I'm calling about Madison Hollies. We've received a complaint that may be related to your recent court case. What kind of complaint? She allegedly submitted fraudulent expense claims to another elderly homeowner. Similar pattern to what you documented. The victim's daughter contacted us and mentioned your case came up during her research. Would you be willing to share your evidence? Yes, thank you. This could help us build a stronger case. She may have done this before. I'll send everything today. We appreciate it. I hung up and looked at the basement door. The boxes would be coming back out, but this time I wasn't protecting just myself. 3 months later, Jerry called with news Madison was arrested, fraud, forgery, and attempted theft. The prosecutor used your evidence plus evidence from 2 other victims. She's looking at felony charges. How did you find out? It's in the court records, public information. I didn't respond. You okay? I'm okay. Catherine would understand what Madison did. It wasn't your fault. I know, but I also knew it was more complicated than that. Madison hadn't become a thief overnight. The seeds were there, the entitlement, the willingness to deceive. Maybe Catherine had seen it and hoped it would change. Maybe she'd been blind to it. I'd never know. What I knew was that I'd protected what was mine. I'd been methodical, patient, strategic, and I'd won not because I was cruel or vindictive, but because I refused to be a victim. The house was quiet that night. I made dinner, watched a documentary about architecture, went to bed early. Before I turned off the light, I looked at Catherine's photo one more time. I did what I had to do. I told her. I hope you understand. The photo didn't answer, but somehow I thought maybe she did. 6 months passed. The case against Madison resulted in a plea deal. Supervised probation, restitution to all victims, community service. No jail time because it was her first offense and her lawyer argued she'd been emotionally compromised by grief. I didn't attend the sentencing. Jerry represented my interests. The restitution check arrived 3 weeks later. $11,300, the exact amount she'd fraudulently claimed. I deposited it and donated it to a cancer research foundation in Catherine's name. Life settled into routine. I renovated the basement, finished the drywall, painted, installed better lighting. The evidence room became a woodworking shop. I'd always wanted space for a proper workshop. Dorothy, my neighbor, brought over banana bread one afternoon. I heard what happened with Madison. I'm sorry. Thank you. You did the right thing, protecting yourself. I hope so. You did. Some people think being family means accepting abuse. It doesn't. She left and I ate the banana bread at my kitchen table, thinking about what she'd said. Family should mean safety, trust, support. When it doesn't, you have to protect yourself, even if it hurts. Sarah visited that Christmas. She brought her husband and 2 kids. We filled the house with noise and laughter and wrapping paper. Her son asked about the basement workshop and I showed him how to use the lathe to make a small bowl. This house is perfect, Grandpa, her daughter said. I can see why you fought for it. It's not just the house, I told her. It's what it represents. What's that? Everything I built, everyone I loved, the life I made. She nodded like she understood, though at 13 she probably didn't. Not yet, but someday she would. After they left, I walked through the empty rooms, straightened the furniture, put away the extra dishes. The house felt like mine again, completely. Finally, I went to the basement workshop and started a new project. A jewelry box for Sarah, cherry wood with dovetail joints, something I could make with my hands and my time and my patience, skills I'd learned young and never forgotten, skills that had served me well not just in woodworking, but in survival. The box took 3 weeks to finish. I carved Catherine's initials inside the lid, a reminder, a memorial. A promise that I'd honored her memory by protecting what we'd built together. When I mailed it to Sarah, she called crying, Dad, it's beautiful. Glad you like it. You should make more, sell them, stay busy maybe, but I knew I wouldn't. The box was for her, a singular thing made with purpose. Like everything I did, spring came. I planted tomatoes and basil in the backyard, fixed the fence, repainted the garage door, lived quietly and deliberately. I never heard from Madison again. Sometimes I wondered if she thought about what she'd done, if she regretted it, if she understood that her mother would have been heartbroken, but mostly I didn't think about her at all. I thought about the garden, the workshop, the books I wanted to read. The trip to Montana I was planning for the fall. I thought about the life I still had ahead of me, built on a foundation I'd defended with evidence, with patience, with absolute certainty that I deserved to keep what was mine. The house stood solid around me. 46 years of memories in its walls, 2 marriages, 1 daughter raised, love and loss and survival. It was mine, and no one, not Madison, not anyone, could take that away, because I'd made sure of it, methodically, completely, without apology. I stood in my living room that evening watching the sunset through the window Catherine had insisted on enlarging when we renovated. Golden light on hardwood floors, my house, my peace, my life hard-won and well-defended. And finally, truly mine.